Is this the legendary Bigfoot caught on camera? Or is it a hoax? This hunt for Bigfoot started not in the mountains of the Pacific Northwest, but here in the small rural communities of southeastern Oklahoma.
92.9 KBET.
In the news today, 2 policemen believe that they may have seen Bigfoot while out
Was it a
camping.
huge bear or not? Last night, terror struck the Rogers farm here in town. Rocks were hurled and something large and dark.
Since 1998, dozens of stories had been hitting the media of encounters with large, hairy, ape-like creatures. Some in towns, and some in more remote areas. They're small, tight-knit communities, but there were some locals who were willing to talk about what they had seen.
I was coming down the old road, and when I was coming down, I could come to an area and there was this curve in the old gravel road, and when I got to it, these 3 deer ran right out in front of me and down the embankment to my left. And just immediately they turned and ran back up the embankment again and crossed the road in front of me and almost hit one with the truck. But when I stopped, I looked down in the woods to see what spooked them, and there was this thing standing down there by a tree, and it looked to be about maybe 6 to 7 foot in height, and it had dark blackish brown hair covering its body, and it was standing on 2 feet. And I had to look twice because I wasn't sure what it was, and I looked at it and it was looking right at me and kind of made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I watched it for a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden it just turned around and took off walking on 2 legs down the hill and disappeared down through the mountain.
Usually people do these as pranks. I know people. In fact, I have a relative who has carved huge feet to walk around in a park as a joke on the rangers there that he knows. He's also told me of rangers encountering a man in a gorilla suit holding the head of the costume under his arm walking along the road, which seems rather ill-advised since some people want to shoot Bigfoot.
Local game warden Mike Virgin had heard many of the reports, but was less than convinced.
I really don't know what to make of it all. I think that a lot of people that are telling the stories really believe they've seen something. Some of them may be making it up just to get a little publicity, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I've been here a long time and I've never seen anything.
It was probably about 9:30 in the evening, and as we were just driving along, I just happened to look to the right of me, and on the back side of a barbed wire fence, I saw a large creature, like it was sitting down, and it had its legs out beside it, and it was holding itself up with its arms. And the thing that caught my attention was this thing, the shoulder span was so wide, it had to be at least 3, maybe 3.5 feet wide. And the head on this thing was enormous. There was no neck at all.
I think it was just some comedian in a costume just out trying to fool people myself.
Well, the possibility is that they are misidentifying other animals, other creatures, and there's also the possibility it's just plain hoax.
I imagine there's some out there though, don't you? Guess we'll find out someday. Most animals, or all animals for that matter, that live, they leave some form of sign in the form of tracks or droppings. And something that's 8 feet tall and weighing 400 or 500 pounds is going to leave some pretty big tracks, and lots of them. And they're also going to leave a lot of droppings because they're going to eat a lot of whatever it is they eat. You'll be able to find where they've been feeding and what have you. So far, I hadn't found any evidence of this. And just about any other type of animal that we have here, I can go find sign, find tracks, and other evidence. I've never seen any evidence of a Bigfoot.
Of the dozens of reported Bigfoot sightings that had come out of this area, one in particular stood out. In the summer of 2001, Here in remote river bottoms a few miles out of Adair in northeast Oklahoma, local police officers Dan Belda and Jeff Whitfield say they came face to face with Bigfoot while out camping. They have no doubt as to what they saw.
I'm convinced that it was a Bigfoot.
No doubt whatsoever.
The hair, it had reddish dark hair, the cone-shaped head, and the swing in the arms and the big steps.
Couldn't have been just a big gorilla.
Not. We were probably 5 miles off the main road back in these woods up and through here, and there's no way somebody would by chance hope for us to drive down that road that day so they could walk across the road in a gorilla suit.
Dan and Jeff agreed to take the crew back to the same spot on the lake bottoms. This was the first time that they'd returned. With them was Bigfoot researcher David Wilbanks and local journalist Cindy Bear, who had been investigating this phenomena for years.
I'm convinced that they saw something out of the ordinary in the woods. They've seen bears, they've seen, the native wildlife around, and they see something like this, they're scared to death.
Having gone as far as the four-wheel drives would take them, they then went on foot into the heart of the woods. Night vision equipment allowed them to shoot in the dark and enhance these images.
Now, this is my first time back.
You didn't even want to come tonight, did you?
Not really. I haven't ever ran away from something that I was afraid of like that ever before, and I figured I had to come back and face it.
How are you doing right now?
I'm pretty anxious.
You're shaking.
Yeah.
You're breathing kind of heavy.
I'd say there's a fair amount of fear in the air.
I think the thing that put me into almost a frightened mode of what's going on was watching Jeff's reaction, a man who never wanted to return to that spot, but his friend Dan said, come on, let's go and tell them our story. And you saw the fear in this man's eyes. I mean, he's a large man, and he looked like he was almost brought to tears. He was standing there, I had a hold of his arm, and he was shaking.
As the group approached the spot where Dan and Jeff had had their Bigfoot sighting, they spotted something moving in the brush.
They think they see some movement on this ridge right up here.
Yeah, there's definitely something moving along.
And I have to tell you, frankly, I think I've seen it too, and it's right here, and that's where I want the light to go.
It was right up on the ridge, and I know that Robert, our cameraman, also saw it too. It was as if a shadow was rocking between two tree trunks. And I looked up there, but I wasn't going to say anything. And then it was when the cameraman, Robert, said, do you see that? And then also Dan said he saw it. Then I was like, I guess I'll admit that I saw it too. So we all saw something rocking and moving up there on that ridge. That's why we went up then further on the hill to look. Right there.
Excuse me?
I'm not kidding you. See this tree right here?
Here, I've got a laser beam on this. Now, Ted, are you talking about this tree right here?
No, I'm talking about like right in there.
Right in there.
Right in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What was that?
Right over there.
Well,
Oh my God, right there.
let me maybe have that.
Okay. Oh my God.
Did you throw that?
No.
Oh.
Is someone fooling around here?
That was something I was doing.
Obviously, nobody's fooling around, right?
I never experienced anything like that. The rocks being thrown at us, and the amount of movement that there was in the woods at night. It was extraordinary. If it had been anybody in a costume or trying to create a hoax, it had been very dangerous for them to try to create a hoax. Something just threw a very large rock at us.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very large rock.
Yeah, we're standing about where that thing was or not.
Yeah,
Are you really?
yes, we are.
This is about as far off the path as it was.
It came right over there, and I even heard it.
Something threw a big rock.
Well, we've ran into that before down here, and I've heard reports before of a Bigfoot throwing a rock at a person just to maybe not try to hit him, but to discourage him from being there. And that rock obviously came from up higher on that ridge and bounced off one of these trees down here.